Welcome to those that are joining us here online today. My name is Ray Michelle and I'm a member of the Koonung Heights Uniting Church, and I'm covering for our Minister Reverend Heather Hon, who is on leave at the moment. So, come and see. The text location in John chapter 1 is preempting the arrival of Jesus. John the Baptist has just given his testimony of Jesus, and Jesus is making his first trip back to Jerusalem as an adult. Jesus diverts his journey to find John. John, for the third time, as we've shared over the last few weeks, is shouted out to all those around who is coming and what they will do. John is challenged by the crowd about his use of water in baptism, and he shares not the importance, not of who he is, not of what he's doing, but the one who is coming. And he is not good enough, as you'll recall over the last few weeks, to tie his shoes, being Jesus. The disciples Simon and Andrew, the following day, go and see Jesus. And based on the information that John's said, they stayed with Jesus. But then we get to verse 44. Jesus asked Philip to come with me. This is significant because Jesus actually found Philip, not the reverse. Philip then goes to his friend, totally convinced that he's found the Messiah, the one that the prophets foretell. But Nathanael, he's very sceptical about all this. He was of the understanding from his knowledge of the Jewish law that the Messiah should have come from Judea, not Nazareth. So naturally, he was quite dubious. It can be described as Nathanael was having a bit of a prejudice straight off. But in the context, and depending where you put the emphasis in the sentence, it may have been a reasonable question. Could anything of good come from Nazareth? No time for debate, thinks Philip. Philip's response is, well, come and see. Jesus then identifies Nathanael as coming as a true descendant of Israel. Well, Nathanael is a bit taken by this, and then he says, well, how do you know me? Jesus replies, I have known you for a long time while you were under that fig tree, and will see everything, including the angels, coming down on the Son of Man. One critical problem with the passage, though, implies Nathanael was happy with that, and that what Jesus replied at his requested him to come, and he just packed up and away he went, along with Philip. I would suggest it was probably not quite that simple, to just instantly pick up and be convinced to do so. But of course, he would have been enshrined in the Jewish law, and there would have been many more points to consider. In our earlier reading from Samuel today, God is also calling Samuel. 3 times before Eli suggests, well, you know what? Could be God calling you. So if we combine these 2 readings together, we have to listen and then come and see. It's all very easy when we have something tangible to see or to hear. Towards the end of the 1st century, where the converted Christians were starting to turn away from the new ways, and why people like Paul had to write such strong letters, as we see in the latter part of the New Testament. They were transitioning from seeing and believing to believing without having seen. So seeing and believing to seeing without actually have seen. Here the passages are completely invitational. It's a model for doing church that invites each person to explore, to witness and discover, rather than sign up to some creed, pass the inquiries class before you're allowed to join the church. It's simply see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Let the evidence speak for it itself. Come and see. How daring is that for the institutional church? But beyond that, if we were to live like that and trust that we're doing God's work rather than simply attempting to keep the institution going, come and see becomes an invitation for ourselves. To see beyond ourselves and to see what is being done and spoken about that is so much bigger than ourselves. It's an invitation to see what is being sacrificed and how lives are transformed because we are in touch with what is beyond ourselves. More than that, it's an invitation to be surprised every day, living as a church. It's a willingness to less control of what has been happening and let the Spirit be more imaginative and the wide surprise and call us all in the world. It becomes a way of life based on relationships rather than doctrine or denominational. Come and see speaks into the integrity of folk, choosing to follow because what they have witnessed rather than because their eternal salvation is at stake. It's not about raw power but authority in the sense that something good or loving or just has its own authority simply because it's good or loving or just. The rest of the Gospel of John is following on from this invitation. It's an array of witnesses, of stories of encounter, places where the love has been met and the lives of others have been transformed. These are the folk who have followed and witnessed and chosen to join in the venture of faith. John is very keen to offer signs of Jesus and tells us each right there, this is what you are going to read in the rest of the gospel. So he builds a gospel around relationships, of invitations for Samaritans and Pharisees, and a whole bundle of folk you would not expect to find in normal life or witnessing. Here are your witnesses, the last, the least, and the lost. Now they follow. Such is the honesty of this approach, we hear too that not everyone followed. Some are confused. Some fight against their instinct. And some walk away. But come and see is not a stick or a threat. John is not trying to keep the institution going here. John is offering a new way of life for which readers can choose to follow or not. Yet even in the passage and the verses either side of it, we see a variety of choices people's made in the gospel's invitation. Some are enthusiastic. Some others fighting about the strength of it. Some are just puzzled and doubtful. The question for all of us who are part of a faith community, what are we inviting people to come and see? What are we inviting people in this church, in this community, to come and see? How might we get people involved to come and see? Well, we're still working on our sign, so that's got another part. But during lockdown, we dropped 15,000 of these box drops into leaflets. And you were given one of these as you came today, and if you got it on email, you would have had it attached. We're inviting people to come and see. And come and see us because they can hook online. They don't have to front up the door. They don't have to feel awkward taking a seat. They can have a straight look and see us. Come and see. Well, the ones that you've been given today, I encourage you to give it to somebody that you can think you can come and see what we are in this faith community. And we've summarised from our mission statement some things on the back there as well. What in our congregation and gospel speaks into the lives of others? In the time of pandemics, when we have to reduce what we do out of necessity, perhaps it's time to reframe our faith community and wonder what will draw people back to us. What is it about the gospel that will have us back into congregational life? What might we do as a faith community that witness to folk on the edge of being welcome inviting in the doubters, being listened to, and how might we spread that invitation to come and see? Amen.